Welcome, everyone, to episode 74 of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and it is a privilege of mine to have this guy on because he and I have kind of been, slowly working together over the past, it's probably been less than a year since we met and started working together. But he was a guy, I found this guy originally when I was looking around for new guys for Vertebreaker, weirdly enough. If you've seen some of my last couple of guests, you seem like that's kind of a pattern. I end up finding this big network of musicians. Whether they end up in my band or not, it's irrelevant. But I'm glad that I know so many great players. In any event, I kind of met this guy, just through social media. I'd found some copies. It's like, hey, check out this band Calefactor on Reverb Nation. I started listening to that. I was like, man, this is some pretty good stuff. It reminds me a lot of Dark New Day and kind of a Seven Dust vibe to it, which was more than a coincidence because Calefactor's album was produced by Brett Hestla, who's worked with me in the past and is a fantastic producer. And so I reached out to this guy and I was like, hey man, I know you've kind of got this thing going on, but here's what's going on with me. I don't know if you're playing with anyone right now. And we just kind of got to meet each other through social media. And even though we didn't end up working together at the time, we would be like, hey man, I like your stuff. Okay, I like your stuff. And it's great. Just this great mutual admiration society. So finally in, I want to say it's October of 2019, I get the call from Bryant August about Mature Musical Pictures and sort of what that band was. And he sort of pitched it to me as sort of like an Orlando area super group of guys who were in different bands, and he kind of explained it to me, and he's like, did you want to come in and play bass for it? And I'm like, yeah, I think I could make that work. I mean, I certainly wasn't looking to take on additional projects at the time, but it just kind of happened that way, and I'm still in Mature Musical Pictures, and it happens to be with my guest today, who I just mentioned, who is also the main man behind Calefactor. Now, his band Calefactor, it's both him and drummer Jason Delgado, and they had worked with Brett Hestla in the studio. I think Brett played bass and some lead guitar on the tracks, but yeah, I know this band had been in the works for a long time, and they ended up putting out their debut full-length LP called Here Goes Nothing. And I immediately loved the title track. I think that was what really got stuck in my head more than anything else. But yeah, so this guy is a very busy guy. He happens to be a bandmate of mine in Mature Musical Pictures, but he's got his own thing going right now with Calefactor. And so it was just the right time to finally have this guy on the show. So please welcome to the Phoenix Report, Stephen Atchison, StoveTop. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Ah, man.
How's it going?
It's great, man. Like I said, this has been a long time coming. You and I have gotten to work together over the past couple months, and now I'm so proud of you that this record has come out. I've been listening to it quite a bit, and it's a great piece of work, man. You should really be proud of yourself.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So I know that Brett was someone that you had known for a long time, personally. You guys have been friends for years. How did that all came about? How did you guys kind of get on each other's radar in the beginning?
Well, I started going to my whole backstory with Brett starts with me going to audio school. I was studying to do audio engineering. The goal was to go into a studio, produce bands, have a studio of my own one day. The kind of goal you have when you're fresh out of high school and you're like, what do I want to do with my life? Well, I want to do band stuff. So.
Sure. Now, in high school or when you were a kid, were you already playing in bands by this point?
Oh yeah. I've been playing guitar since I was 15 years old.
Nice.
So my dad's a guitar player. He passed it on to me, and I've been doing it ever since. So
there you go. Who were some of your early influences? On guitar, I should say.
Shoot, man. James Hetfield. All the Metallica guys. Kurt Cobain. Breaking Benjamin, the list is just endless, man. It's so crazy.
For sure, for sure. Hetfield and Cobain are definitely interesting choices, and I can kind of see that with you because certainly within Mature Musical Pictures, you have more of the rhythm end of guitar playing, and I've said this a lot about rhythm guitar playing. I feel like that's a very underrated position because most of the time, most bands that have two guitars, it's usually the rhythm guitarist who ends up doing the lion's share of the writing, of the songwriting and stuff. And even though Mature Musical Pictures is really Bryant's deal, like he played guitar on the records and everything, like you kind of bring that sensibility to it. And so it's no wonder that that's kind of outgrown into Calefactor, and then you're able to sing on top of that. Was singing something that was relatively new to you before? When it came to Calefactor, or did you like sing in other bands before that?
I sang in other bands. I did backing vocals in bands. I did lead vocals in bands. It's something I've been developing ever since I started playing. I was playing guitar and I'm like, well, I like singing too, so let me just do both of these and try to develop them at the same time.
Very good. Now, are you from the Orlando area originally?
Yeah, born and raised.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
So you're coming out of high school. You're going to school for audio engineering. Where did you end up going?
I went to Artie. It's like the subsidiary, maybe of Full Sail, their competitor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not around anymore, but they were based in Orlando, right next to the Holy Land.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
The school is now Racetrack's corporate office.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know exactly where that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, yeah. I didn't grow up in the area, so I don't quite have the history of Orlando. Even though I've been here for a few years, there's still like a lot that I don't know about it. But it is what it is. But that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you end up going there, and if I remember right, because I want to get. Obviously it's your story to tell, but I know you told me that I think you had done some intern work with Brett when he had his studio in Longwood. Was that how you guys ended up meeting?
We ended up meeting. I was looking for an internship or a studio job, like right out of college. I was working with a friend of mine's band, Ethan Kennett. He had a band called Black Star Morning, and they were pretty big in Orlando around like 2005 or so. They had an album that they did with Brett called All Rise that came out around that time. And then I was working with them. I was kind of like their only roadie guy, like the unofficial fifth member of the band. And they knew that I was trying to do audio stuff. So he introduced me to Brett. And then me and Brett hit it off. I actually met Brett at a Dark New Day show when they played at House of Blues in Orlando.
There you go, yeah.
So,
for everyone listening who might not know the name Brett Hestla, he's been around for years. He originally was in a band called Virgos Merlot. Then he played bass for this little band called Creed. I don't know, maybe you've heard of them. Wonder what happened to those guys. Yeah, he was with playing bass with one of the biggest bands in the world at the peak of their success. So he's had some road experience, let's say. And then he went to front his own band, Dark New Day, for a couple years. And since then, he's been kind of working behind the scenes, as a producer, producing other artists, but incredibly talented guy. So that's the Reader's Digest version of Brett Hesla's history. But
Cliff Notes.
Yeah. But Brett had been based in our area for a long time. So that's so it's no wonder that that you ended up meeting him at some point.
Yeah, it was a stroke of luck, kind of, man. Right place, right time. He's a great guy. He took me right under his wing, showed me everything he knows, taught me a lot of what I know about songwriting and guitar playing and singing, and he just blew me away from the beginning. He's such a nice guy, and we've been friends for like 15 years now. So.
Absolutely. He's kind of been sort of the unofficial like George Martin of the Orlando scene for years.
Yeah.
Even though now he's based in Nashville, but which makes it a little tougher to work with him. But he's been doing his thing for a while and just a fantastic musician all around. And it's a shame he's not still like playing in bands like out there. But he seems to enjoy doing the studio stuff. So.
Yeah. He's got a nice little solo album that he's been working on for a long time.
Oh gosh,
so.
Yeah, he's been sitting on that thing forever.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. If
well, hopefully that sees the light of day.
I hope so.
So I guess when did Calefactor, or at least the ideas for Calefactor, when did that start? Was that Was it just something you knew you wanted to build a band around songs that you're writing and playing and singing? Was there a particular like origin point for Calefactor?
Yeah, it was around the summer of 2012. I had just had a previous band, and you know the woes of bands, man. You spend all this time writing songs, you get guys together, they do some stuff, and then they split. And you know, how many times have we all gone through that, right?
Yeah, once or twice.
So I had always wanted to put an album out. I always wanted to at least just put out a full-length album, do something. And I tried doing that with a couple bands that I was in, and it just never came to fruition. So when that band split, I'm like, you know what? I got the time now. Let me try doing this a little bit differently. And I had a batch of songs. I went and showed them to Brett, gave him the demo versions, you know, my home Pro Tools version of it. And we just started going at it. You know, I went in, we started reworking some of the stuff and started doing more of a professional level. And yeah, man, that's just kind of how it started out.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's cool because you already kind of had the in with Brett, so it's like, you know, you weren't necessarily like, I mean, I'm assuming you weren't necessarily paying for it all up front, but like you at least had it in there and be like, hey, Brett, check this out, and you know, you could get that immediate feedback.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
awesome.
I paid for that album one song at a time.
Oh yeah, well yeah, of course, obviously, but that's awesome. And how did Jason enter the picture? Your drummer, Jason.
Me and him have or he and I, whatever the proper wording is for that.
Either way.
Hey, I'm from a pop kit.
All right.
We've been friends for a long time too. I actually met him when he was in another band called Bedlam Stories. He was the singer and guitar player for that band. And if you ever get a chance to listen to that, I think the whole album's up on YouTube now and Spotify and all that. But if you ever get a chance to listen to it, it's an awesome concept record. He was singing and playing guitar in that. And his band was working on an album at the same time my friend Ethan's band was doing their follow-up album. So we were running into each other. We kind of crossed paths as his band was coming out and my buddy's band was going in. And I was always hanging around. I was working on everybody's stuff because I was working alongside Brett. So we just got to get to know each other then and became good friends. And then I started talking about doing this album. And I said, hey, man, you know, I'm going to go in the studio and record some stuff with Brett, you know, just let him know. We were just kind of talking about it one day. And he was like, well, hey, man, if you need somebody to play drums, I'll come in and play drums for you. It'd be cool. And I'll be happy to lay down some drums for you. And I was like, all right, sweet, man. Well, this is the date I'm going in. You want to meet there? Sure, I'll be right there. And he has been around ever since, man.
There you go. I mean, anytime you're working with someone for a long term, you have to have that chemistry there. And so, like, you know, when it's right, you know, when it's right, you just know it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's awesome. I know. I guess was the plan originally to just kind of create a full length album, or did you want to do it just like song by song, or and then build a band around it? Like, what was sort of your strategy at that point with Calefactor?
Well, I was doing it song by song because I needed to kind of give myself time to grow. I mean, I could have gone in and done 5 songs right off the bat, but it may not have been 5 songs that I still want to play, you know, 10 years from now or something, you know? Oh man, I'm getting notices. Sorry. So my strategy was like, I didn't want to go into debt. So I figured it was kind of a good trade-off. Like, give it time, just go song by song. I'm feeling something, I go in there. Here's this idea I've got. All right, are we going to do this song? Boom, pay for that song, do it. And then once we have the whole album done, I figured, well, if I've got an album's worth of material, then I'll have my pick at quality musicians to choose from to come join the band. So that was kind of the idea behind that.
It's so interesting to me how so many bands have been sort of reverse engineered, you know, by that process in recent years. Certainly MMP is no different, but I even look at my buddy Regis's band Vox, which is how I got introduced to Bryant in the first place, because he and Regis are friends. Also another Brett client. Go figure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a unique way to do it, and you know, I kind of find myself doing that now with like the current lineup of Vertebreaker, even though that's not really how the band started. It's just, you know, a lot of the other guys left, and I still had the record, so it's like, let me bring in some new guys to play. So,
right,
you know, it's the way technology is now, I think it makes it a lot easier to do that than it was back in the day, where you start a band the traditional way. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I'm still very much a proponent of that. But if at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how things come together, as long as things come together, really.
Yeah, totally. It's almost easier that way.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, if you definitely have the vision and sort of the wherewithal to kind of build it from the ground up yourself, that's definitely something I envy. For me, I thrive on collaboration. I probably don't have enough attention span to really just buckle down and focus on stuff myself. So I definitely admire anyone who's able to do that. So yeah. I gotta say, I mean, as far as the album itself, the title track definitely spoke out to me right away when I first heard it, and I'm like, yeah, this song has just got a great hook to it, and like I said, I'm a fan of Dark New Day, and the influence is obviously there with Brett being on the record as well. Did he co-write some of the stuff with you, or because I know the songwriting is credited to the band Calefactor, so was it like a collaboration between you, Brett, and Jason putting the songs together, or?
Yeah. It was. Most of the time I would go in and I'm like, okay, here's kind of what I think the song's going to be about.
Like the skeleton.
Here's a guitar riff I've got.
Yeah.
And then we would just dogpile it, and that was the best part of it, because Jason's a really good songwriter. He's a really good guitar player and drummer. Brett, as everybody knows, is just fantastic at everything. So it's like, dude, I got my team right here.
There you go.
I'm writing music with my two best friends. I can't ask for anything better.
Well, that's cool that you had that sort of that collaboration in there. I think that's great. What I guess in terms of the lyrics that you're working with on this album, was that all your end of it? Was there, were the lyrics mostly your idea?
The song, I guess, structure, like kind of what the song's about, a lot of times was my idea, but the lyrics was a very collaborative thing. Me and Gato like to throw jokes about it and say we were throwing pickles.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing pickles at the window, man, seeing what sticks. And we would feed each other lines. We'd all be sitting there with a notebook, all three of us, and just kind of start jotting down how the song's building and come up with melody, and all kinds of stuff. So it was a lot of fun, man. It's fun every time.
Gotcha. I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of people connect with right away, is that, if there's something lyrically in there that people can connect with or can relate to their own experience, that's always a good sign. Were there any, going through some of the songs in there, were there any that, that you had a particular story that you wanted to tell, or something that you wanted to express while doing this, or like where were you coming at this album lyrically, like approaching it, or was it just kind of whatever came out?
A lot of times it was really on my current mood when I was in the studio, like whatever I was dealing with at the time, whether it was some good times, some bad times, relationship stuff, friend stuff, losing family members, all this stuff that everybody goes through in life. I'm just whatever I was feeling at the moment, and just trying to get that across and get it across a way where other people can relate to it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that. I know I'm trying to relate to at least the way I approach lyrics. A lot of times I'll hear like a riff or a song first, and then that will sort of inform my decision about how the song makes me feel, and what the lyrics should be about that. And for me, there's not really much of a formula. It's like, if this sounds like a party rock tune, then I'll write some lyrics that kind of go with that. Or if it sounds more somber and more introspective, I can go that way. I didn't know if you had a particular process when it came to it, or just sort of whatever happens.
Yeah, I mean, Here Goes Nothing, for example. That was kind of a joke. We sat down. I had this guitar riff. We're sitting there, and Brett's like, "Okay, man, what's this song gonna be about?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. Shit, I got nothing." And then he goes, "Well, here goes nothing." And I'm like, "There it is. Here we go." And we just started building the song around that one phrase,
Yeah, well,
Downward Spiral is another one.
And that that phrase can mean so many things. Like it could be if you're like starting a new relationship or a new job or something, and or anything in life where you're unsure about. Sometimes it's about taking that leap of faith and saying it's like, all right, well, here goes nothing, but you gotta try whatever it is that you're willing to achieve and take a risk. So I think a lot of people will be able to connect with that for sure.
Yeah, definitely set the tone for the album.
So I know the album has 10 songs on it now. Have there been any more recorded since then, or any that were sort of left on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, there's a couple that didn't quite make the album cut for one reason or another. But we got a couple B-sides floating around, some unheard stuff, some early stuff, and I've got some stuff that, I was like, I don't like quite how this one turned out. Just little things here. I'm like, maybe that one will make its way back around on the next album or something.
Yeah, you never know. Definitely hang on to that stuff, because you never know. I mean, people might want to hear it, or you might want to like revisit it later at some point, or improve upon it, whatever it is. But
yeah,
that's awesome to hear. I know, I obviously COVID being what it is this year. It's as we record this, it's December of 2020. I know you've been wanting to play out with this band for a long time. And I know it's been a long time coming. You've been focused in the studio and getting the album together, and it's mainly been you and Jason and Brett in the studio helping as well. But I know that as of this point in time, you're looking for a bass player. How has the search been going? Have there been any like candidates that you've been going through, or what can you tell us about that without giving too much away?
Yeah, we got a couple good candidates that have reached out. We still leaving the door wide open for anybody else that wants to submit or anybody that's interested. Going to make a couple calls probably next week or so. What's today, the 15th? So probably, not on Christmas, but either right before or right after Christmas. Just talk to people, see what's going on, feel them out, and then keep moving. But yeah, if anybody wants to submit to it or anybody's interested, hit us up, calefactormusic@gmail.com.
There you go.
Find us on Facebook, all that stuff.
Calling all bass players. And I would almost argue, and I don't know if this is something, and we had talked about this privately before, but I feel like with this band, with these songs, I would love to see you guys eventually add a second guitar player, just to kind of fill out that sound, and especially on parts where you want to focus on singing, you kind of have that backup. I feel like that's something that could really serve you guys well, when you do finally get to that point of playing live. But obviously, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself there. Maybe you want to start it off with a 3-piece live and see how that feels.
Yeah, I'm open to any kind of ideas that are flung my way, or if there's a really good guitar player out there who's interested in joining us, can play the licks, man, I'll take a call. I'll take an email. I'll take a listen to what you got. I'm trying to find the hard parts first. You know how Orlando is. Drummers and bass players are the hardest guys to find, man, especially good ones. So.
Absolutely. And I kind of feel bad for because I do play bass, but I also am focusing on singing for my band, and I almost feel bad because it's like I'll get people asking me to play bass for stuff, and I can't right now. I would love to, and I do for MMP, and sometimes there will be other projects I'll do, like cover bands and tribute bands and whatnot. Those are fun a lot. So, but yeah, if I would encourage anyone who's thinking about picking up the bass, definitely do it, because there are a lot of people who need good bass players out there. It might not always be front and center in the mix, but trust me, bass is a very important position, and I love the instrument.
Yeah, man, definitely. I actually. My girlfriend's son, who's 15, he's been playing guitar for like a year or two now, and he's getting really good at it, but now he's hitting a crossroads because he's played my bass too, and he's loving that. And I'm like, hey, man, if you want to play bass is the way to go.
Hey, talk to the kid, get him started early.
Yeah, I was like, dude, if you want to play bass, you have your pick at bands.
Right. There you go. Passing it on to the next generation. I love it. But, yeah, I imagine just the way the world is right now, it's probably tough to bring new guys in and audition necessarily. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. It got me thinking, and I kind of got this idea. I I sort of like broke it down in my head how and this is like kind of off on a tangent, but fuck it, that's what we do on this show anyway.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
But I got the idea of like auditioning new members for like a band that I'm already in through Dream Theater when they were auditioning replacements for Mike Portnoy. I don't know if you ever saw the video that they did for a dramatic turn of events, but like they kind of broke it down really well how they did it when they brought in new guys to play drums. They're like, okay, we'll have someone who comes in and like step one is like we play a song that they know. Be like, okay, learn this song and come in and then we'll play it together, see how it feels. And step two is let's throw something completely new at this person and jam with them a little bit and just kind of see what they come up with in the moment. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least kind of get a feel for like eventually we want to create new music with this person. So how does that go? Kind of test out the chemistry of that. And then, it doesn't even have to be in that particular order, but then obviously you sit down and have a conversation with that person and just kind of talk about, what it is you're looking for, get their background and so on and so forth. I've kind of used that approach a little bit with bands that I've been in. I don't know if that's something that you had been using, recently when you're trying to bring in new guys.
I haven't, but that's actually a great idea. I may steal that from you.
There you go. Well, I mean, I wanted to put it out there in a podcast. Let's put it out there right now for anyone who's listening, anyone who's like in an existing band already. It might be different if you're starting something new from the ground up, but if you're looking for someone to join your band, that might not be a bad way to go about it.
Yeah, totally.
So there you go.
That's not a bad idea at all, man.
That's some free advice from your Uncle Jack.
Uncle Jack's got the case, man.
So yeah, man. So I'm excited. I'm glad you have at least a couple of guys who have shown interest in it, and I hope you guys do build that lineup, and that whoever that new person or people is who end up joining end up being a good fit, and then you could write some new stuff with that person or whatever you end up doing from there.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. I've already got a hard drive full of new riffs, so if anybody wants to come jam on them, let's do it.
I gotta say, man, it's pretty wild how Mature Musical Pictures has come together, and how it's like among all of us, each of us has our hand in so many different things that we managed to build this like really like cool like tight knit sort of like little clique of musicians, for lack of a better term. At least like this inner network of guys who are all friends with each other and supportive of what everyone else is doing, and just whether or not MMP stays with the same lineup or not in the future. And right now no one's playing out live, so it's like we haven't really been thinking about it too much, but we've all still been keeping in touch with each other and trying to plan for when things do open up. But I do think it's really been a cool experience. It's certainly getting to work with each other. We've played a few shows together as MMP, and you've gotten to meet Felipe, and then I've gotten to meet Dean on drums, and he's great. And then it's kind of all been through Bryant, and it's just been a really, really positive experience. And so I guess it's a roundabout way to get to this question, but how was it coming into someone else's project and learning someone else's tunes? By that I mean Bryant, who kind of did all the work in the studio, sort of what you did with Calefactor, sort of reverse engineered this band from the studio project. How was that coming into that situation and learning these songs? Was it like was it a little bit weird, like learning someone else's tunes, from after working on your own stuff for so long?
It does give you a little bit of a different perspective, and probably a perspective you need if you're that guy that's trying to build a band after you've put music together. Me and Brian were on the same page with a lot of that stuff. We were talking early on. We were talking about me joining MMP and doing this thing with him probably a year before it actually happened. I was kind of helping reach out to other musicians and stuff. But yeah, that whole process is very interesting and very cool. I like it because it challenged me. It challenged me to play a different style than what like I would play. It kind of broadens my horizons and my knowledge of guitar and things like that.
Yeah, he's had some pretty unique tunings on a lot of his stuff, which was pretty wild for me on bass. So it's like I don't even know if I had ever played bass that low. Like it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's the first time I played a baritone. So that was interesting. I'm like, well, baritones are fun. So yeah, man, it's been a great experience, the whole way through. So, it's been awesome.
And it was exciting for me, just the possibility of being in a band with like 3 strong lead voices as well.
Yeah.
Like, man, there's definitely some room to grow with that for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I had even talked about Bryant, like, when we first started talking, it was like, maybe this might result in like a potential like studio / songwriting collaboration thing down the road with the members. Who knows? Like I'm not going to force that on you because you have the vision, you know what you want to do. But I'm saying like you do have guys in the band that can contribute in that way if you want to go that route. So I mean, I think there's a lot of room for growth with that band, and he's already done so much of the legwork himself, especially from a business end of it. He's really financed it himself, which is pretty wild. Like so I think it's been a good experience for all of us, really.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. It definitely took a much more positive turn. Like I was a little nervous about it going in, jamming with guys I haven't really jammed with before. Me and Dean have a little bit of a history doing cover gigs and stuff and just knowing each other kind of for a roundabout way. But man, like meeting you and Felipe and jamming with you guys and like seeing your musicianship and just the vibe is there, man. It's cool. It's always been fun. So
for sure.
Bryant has facilitated it all, and it's been great, dude.
Yeah. It's funny the thing with Felipe, who happens to be in Vertebreaker as well. Like originally we had Josh Lyons from Filth, who was going to take that spot, but I think he just became too busy with what Filth was doing. So I ended up like talking to Brian, and I was like, hey, I've got a guy in my band. Maybe I could ask him. And it just kind of worked out. I asked Felipe. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And God bless that guy, man. He's up for anything and everything. So
he's a trooper, man.
Yeah, he's a beast. He just comes in and is like, oh, is that it? And just shreds immediately, like it's nothing.
Is he doing he's with your band? He's in Vox now, right?
Yeah. Like he started playing with Regis, just kind of like out of nowhere, and it was like. And he's like, yeah, is this all right? I'm like, dude, yeah. I mean, you're able to make it work. I don't know when you sleep, but like, God bless you, man.
Right. He's got 3 bands. And is that Linkin Park cover band? Were you in that? Are you in that with Regis?
Yeah, I mean, me and Regis have been kind of talking about that, and I know Felipe was interested in that. I don't know if that's going to continue or not, just because it's been so difficult trying to keep guys around, especially if you're going to do those songs. Like, you need a big group of guys. It's tough to like really downsize it. So, I mean, with COVID and everything, I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it does, but I mean, if not, we'll do something, regardless of what band we end up covering. But like Felipe's doing all that. He's got those bands. He has his day job. He's also going to school for music. Like, he's a machine.
I don't think he ever sleeps.
No. But yeah, man, no, it's been a lot of fun, jamming with you and everything, and I'm definitely proud that Calefactor is that much closer to really getting out there and playing live, and I'm looking forward to the day where we can start gigging again, and that you can start getting out there and complete that lineup and really get these songs out there, because I know you've worked really hard to make the album what it is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can't wait to get back out, too. Get me some new Vertebreaker. What?
Eventually, yeah, no. Yeah, don't get me started on that, but that's been a process as well. But, it is what it is, man. I can't wait for all of our bands to be out there playing again. And, whether it's together, separately, whatever happens in the future. But so where can the folks find Calefactor online, and where can they get a copy of that album?
You can get copies of the album digitally, all of the digital stores, iTunes. It's not Google Play anymore. I guess YouTube Music they changed it to now.
I guess.
And all the digital stores. We have physical copies, you can order them at calefactor.bigcartel.com.
There you go. Just get a good old fashioned CD, man. Like that's that's how I do it. I'm old school like that. But it's
hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the streaming stuff, that's all great, but like the CD, man, theoretically that's there forever, or at least as long as you have it.
Dude, yeah, there's nothing beats pulling that shrink wrap off and pulling that book out, man.
Yeah, you got some
seeing
cool
the artwork
in
and the
there,
lyrics,
all the liner notes, and you can
smells all fresh,
and it's still digital. You can still upload it to your stuff, so it's fine.
Right? Yeah. So,
see that, kids? I'm hip. I'm with it.
You can't write us off yet.
All right, man. Well, I'm bearing the lead on this. Obviously, everyone calls you StoveTop. I know Brett gave you that name. We got to tell the story of how that nickname came about. What's the deal with the StoveTop thing, man?
Oh man, it's the greatest story ever told.
It is.
That came about when I was working with Brett. When I first started working with him a long time ago, I was interning with him and his former partner, this guy named Justin Thomas, who used to produce a lot of bands in Orlando too. And I was doing my intern thing, wrapping cables, cleaning mics, doing the normal thing. And they sent me out for a food run. And when I was gone, Justin turned around and looked at Brett and said, "Hey, where'd Steve go?" And he's like, Brett says, "He's stove." And he's like, what do you mean? He's stove. He's like, he's stove, past tense of Steve is stove. So when I came back, they're like, "Hey, stove." And I'm like, all right, what's going on with this now? So that was my new nickname. And then Brett's like, well, you can only say stove for so long before you say StoveTop. So eventually he was calling me StoveTop all the time, and I was never allowed to introduce myself to any new band that came in.
No, that is who you are.
I was StoveTop, and if I ever said Steve, he corrected me like immediately. He's like, "Nope, that's StoveTop." Wow,
just like that, you were stuck with it.
Yep, and dude, I got a tattoo of it now. So
wow,
it's serious.
Yeah, you're committed. I love the fact that it's like Steve past tense. I mean, because it kind of works with my name too. But you always hear like, man, that guy's jacked. That guy's jacked up. So
he's jacked.
Yeah, so I get it. And I appreciate the compliment. But yeah, man, check out Calefactor online. You could say it's a StoveTop original recipe. Is this album?
I love it.
All right, awesome, man. And of course, you are I am StoveTop on Instagram.
I stove once.
I stove once. You stove once, and you thought better of it, and you never stove again.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
All right, man. Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun. I'm so glad that the album is out. We'll have to do this again and talk about whatever else we can come up with. But yeah, here goes nothing, man. Calefactor.
Yeah, man.
Thanks
for having me, brother.
It's good stuff. Thank you. So there you go, guys. That is Steve Atchison, aka StoveTop, my my bandmate in Mature Musical Pictures, as well as being the main man behind Calefactor. They're a fantastic band, man. You really got to go listen to this record. It's it grows on you with every listen, I've found. So here goes nothing. The debut album by Calefactor is available everywhere. You can definitely get it right from the source, right at their website at calefactor.bigcartel.com. You can also follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/calefactorofficial and on Instagram at calefactorband. And you can follow Steve on Instagram at istovonce. And as always, you can follow our band, Mature Musical Pictures, at maturemusicalpictures.com. And as always, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at jackxconnor. You can like me on Facebook, facebook.com/jackconnormusic. You can feel free to check out my main band, Vertebreaker, at facebook.com/vertebreakerband, on Instagram at vertebreaker. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com or tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. No matter where you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a good rating, leave a comment, hit like, thumbs up, and however you want to show your support. I always appreciate it. Share it with all your friends. Go back and listen to all the other episodes. And thank you guys for tuning in. As always, this has been the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor. We'll see you later. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Bye.